I always choose complex projects, custom orders, unusual designs. I thought the more complex it is, the more money I'll make, but reality is different. In this video I'm doing the opposite. I'm trying to make something simple but stylish, and optimized as much as possible. I have my own shelf designed with a tail. I've sold a few already, but this time I decided to make a simpler version, faster to make and cheaper. This is my first attempt at what I call an idiot-proof product. Let's see how it turns out. For a long time I thought complex projects mean more money, but when you start counting the time, the work and the risk, you start asking yourself, why I'm doing this? Before it was interesting. Every project felt like a challenge. You learn something new, you improve your skills, but that doesn't always mean a good business. So now I am trying a different way. The idea is that I want to focus on products that are easy to repeat and don't take too much time to make. For this shelf I use oak and walnut. What I like most is that it's made from two parts. Basically, just two boards shaped with CNC. At this point I am assistant. I've seen a lot of comments like CNC is not real woodworking. Not even close, because CNC can't make product on its own. You still need to prepare the material, program everything, and tell the machine exactly what to do. Otherwise, it's just a pile of metal. You have to design the shape, generate the code, and think through every movement so it doesn't ruin the piece or your fingers. And after all that, you still need to sand and finish everything by hand. Yes, you can do all of this by hand, with template, chisels, whatever you like. People somehow did it before CNC existed. But that's not really about business, that's more about passion. And by the way, a chisel is also a tool. A hand saw is a tool. If someone really hates CNC that much, then maybe they should stop using tools completely and just use their nails. And even your nails can be a tool. What I am trying to say, for me CNC is just a tool. It makes work easier, faster, and gives you better chance of keeping your old fingers attached. By the way, I assembled the CNC myself, from bolts to electronics and programming, so can I call this handmade now? Going back to the idiot-proof idea, a product should be fast to make and easy to repeat. If it takes 2 weeks to make one piece, it's not a good product, unless someone is actually willing to pay for that time. But let's be honest, most people want as cheap as possible but still expect the best quality. Interesting fact, people have no problem paying $500 to a handyman for a couple of hours of work, but when it comes to a handmade piece that took a week to make, suddenly it's too expensive. Why? I think it's because people don't see the process. They only see the final piece. They don't see the hours, the mistakes, the retries, all the small details that takes the time. So in their mind it's just a piece of wood. And that's why I started thinking differently. Maybe the problem is not the customer, maybe the problem is the product. If it takes too long to make, it's hard to sell. So instead of fighting that, I decided to adapt. Make something simpler. Something I can repeat without wasting weeks on one piece. And honestly, it's just the beginning. I'm still testing, still learning, still trying to figure out what really works. If you like the shelf, you can find it on my Etsy, link in the description. While working on these shelves, I remembered something interesting. When I started working with wood more than 10 years ago, I felt amazing to see how ugly a rough piece of wood turns into something beautiful. That transformation really fascinated me. I remembered it now for a reason. When you are making something big, like a table, you don't pay that much attention to small details. But when the piece is small, those details stand out a lot more. Just look at the grain. It's beautiful. Recently I was making cabinet handles, and it's impressive how the grain shows up on a such small piece. Sometimes you can change the whole look of a cabinet just by replacing the handles. And by the way, those handles are also available on my Etsy. But honestly, it's a bit sad to see how craftsmanship and skill are slowly losing value. People get used to cheap, mass-produced things. And in today's reality, makers either adapt or create for idea, or stop creating at all. Tell me what you think.